evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to African Perspective. My name is Anthony Sebale, and this is Smart 24 TV. I'm right here in Kampala, in Uganda, and we drive your business throughout the continent as Smart 24 TV. Now, African Perspective is a show in which we bring you the journey, the history, and the current events that are pertaining the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. I'm not alone. I'm with Mr. Samuel Ajemang, who is based in Accra in Ghana, to bring you all the events as they unfold and also the history as it was for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Now, last week we did look at the agreement that Angola reached with the Ghana state in as far as trade was concerned, and this was at the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. Now today we bring you another very special episode on which the African Union unveiled or commissioned the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat in Ghana, Accra. This was on the 17th of August 2020, and on this day the African Union heads of state, together with the chairman, they were able to commission Accra, Ghana, to be the host of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. And those officers are still standing up to date. Today, we are taking you back, and we are giving you the events that happened as the African Union was commissioning the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. Remember, the Afcfta is all about the African economic, cultural, and social integration, and of course, easing transport amongst African countries in order to promote trade and to promote economic activity. Over 30 million people are to be raised out of poverty, and about 68 million people to be, of course, brought above the $5.5 US income that they earn per day. Together with Samuel Ajemang, welcome to African Perspective. Here's more.
Hello, it's the Single African Market. It is designed specially to bring you every activity around the vision of the continent of Africa to integrate its market. It is in association with the government of Ghana through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, also the Ministry of Information. The UNDP is a proud associate of the program. The German Development Corporation, GIZ, is a proud associate of this program. The International Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest association of businesses with about 45 million businesses around the globe, is proudly associated with this program. Also, the United Nations Commission for Africa, UNECA, as well as the Business for Peace Foundation are all proud to associate with this particular program. It's just about a year ago that this beautiful edifice that you see here, this wonderful facility, was handed over to the Africa Union Commission by the Republic of Ghana. Now, the AU Commission honored this country, the Republic of Ghana, to host the Secretariat of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Exactly 17th of August 2020 is when this facility was handed over to the AU Commission. We're going to relive this particular event and take a look at the way forward. President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on Monday 17th August 2020, commissioned and handed over the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area to the African Union Commission. Ghana was honored by the AU Assembly to host the Afcfta Secretariat in 2019. At the handing over ceremony, President Akufo-Addo said Ghana had discharged all of her obligations towards the establishment and the setting up of the office.
And we are today handing over a fully furnished and befitting office space in a secured and easily accessible location within the business center of Accra as the permanent secretariat of the Afcfta.
The president bemoaned the low levels of intra-Africa trade.
It is obvious that these very low levels of intra-regional trade constitute one of the defining characteristics of our continuing poverty.
He said effective implementation of the Afcfta will dispel the notion that Africans are incapable of making their own decisions.
Africa's new sense of urgency and aspiration of true self-reliance will be amply demonstrated by today's ceremony.
President Akufo-Addo seized the opportunity to welcome the first Secretary General of the Afcfta Secretariat to Ghana.
As we welcome the newly elected first Secretary General of the Secretariat, I know that he's fully aware of the enormous task ahead of him and his colleagues who will be managing the Secretariat. The Secretary General must work towards building a strong, efficient, and effective Secretariat with the capacity to implement the various trade rules in line with the text of the agreement.
I thank the people of Ghana. I thank the government of Ghana for providing world-class facilities that will enable Africa to progress towards the historic mission of achieving an integrated Africa.
The chairperson of the AU congratulated Ghana for its commitment to Africa's integration agenda.
It is fitting that the Secretariat will have its home here in Accra. Ghana is a historical trading center for gold, cocoa and timbers and other valuable goods, and remains an important center of commerce on the continent and beyond.
The leaders were excited that the unveiling of the Secretariat marks a new beginning of Africa's economic fortunes.
It is estimated that intra-African trade would increase by as much as $35 billion US, or by 52% per annum by 2022. Afcfta will also address the challenge of small fragmented markets in Africa by creating a single continental market which will lead to economies of scale.
So indeed, Ghana delivered the assignment and handed over this beautiful edifice to the Africa Union Commission to host the vision of the continent to integrate its economy. Dr. Farid Arthur is the head of the National Coordination Office of the Afcfta Secretariat here in Ghana. Now, he has seen it all throughout. So I sat down with him to relive this particular event and also to look at what next as far as implementation is concerned. What are the protocols that are ready? What can people take advantage of? And what is there to know going forward?
The government had made a commitment to host the Afcfta. And therefore, come what may, we needed to make it function. And government was committed to ensure that this came into reality. So, under the guidance of the President, all the necessary facilities and support was given for that Secretariat to be, completed. We had to do a complete refurbishing, an ultra-modern Secretariat with all the facilities, there, just to be able to ensure that the Afcfta came on board. The Afcfta has a protocol on goods and has a protocol on services, which is currently negotiating. Has a protocol on intellectual property, has a protocol, several protocols, e-commerce, everything, which is being negotiated. Now, even before these protocols are negotiated, African services have been very, very mobile on the continent. What the discussions around the protocol seeks to do is to formalize it and to protect the interest of the service provider. Africans have always been providing services across each other's boundaries, starting from the late 50s. We have Ghanaians who have served as judges in other countries, even chief justices in other countries, across Africa. We have teachers from other countries who have come to Ghana. And the late President Mugabe was a teacher in Takoradi. So that mobility of service, of labor, is not new to Afcfta. What Afcfta does is to try to rationalize it so that you will feel protected. I mean, if I was to go to some other country and serve my time 30 years and I retire and I come home, how do I get my benefits, for instance? What about my intellectual property? when I go to another country and I do something, do I have title to that intellectual property? All these type of things need to be discussed.
Yes.
Even the goods we send, when I take a good and I have spent so much money to brand the good here, paid everything, and I go out there, can it be protected? Or can just somebody take it and, rebrand it and say this is their goods, and plagiarize it? It's not coming to introduce services. It's coming to rationalize the trade in services.
If a nurse is here and maybe thinking of looking to establish or offer service in Uganda, a doctor is here looking to establish in South Africa, for instance, and beginning to think, how does the Afcfta cover me?
Those are some of the challenges.
Yes.
In terms of accreditation, for instance, recognition of certificates. How do we recognize the skills, certification and things like that? So this is part of the discussions that are going on. So that
is ready. So that if I'm a lawyer, for instance, and I hope to offer
some tariff offers have already been made in services, but they have not been formalized. So I cannot easily put it out there. But there are areas, I think, in transportation, in hotel industry, in a few other areas, that in education, that have already been more or less identified, that these are going to be areas where we need. But the idea is to expand this to cover all fields, because if we're going to be trading, the rule is free movement of goods and persons across Africa's borders, and to try to remove all the limitations.
So are we saying that some of these, apart from that of goods, that of services, that of capital, and that of persons, some of these are still under negotiations?
Yes, yes.
It is not ready yet.
No, it's a normal thing for a free trade negotiation.
We can never finish the entire...
Not that you can never. You will finish it to the point where it becomes functional, but negotiations still go on. I mean, as we speak now, there are negotiations going on even with the WTO on various aspects. There are negotiations with EU on various aspects of their EPA. So with trade negotiations, it's an ongoing thing, until you've got. So normally what you do is you get to a point where all parties are satisfied that we can start with what we have and then continue the process. And that is what will happen. So when we got to a point where we thought that the negotiations on trade were sufficient, it was agreed then to start, even though at that time we hadn't completed, and maybe not even all the countries had submitted their offers and everything. Whatever was there was good enough for us to start. When you look at the rules of origin, it's been negotiated at least to about 80%, but it's good enough to start. It will get to a point when the services is also ready and good enough to start while negotiations go on.
At the moment, if I seek services in a neighboring African country that's a party state to Afcfta, and I feel that I'm discriminated against, can I seek redress?
Yeah, once the protocols are firmed up, and signed on to, then it's published, and so you will know what is your right, what is not your right, and at what point that right has been breached, and at what redress you are supposed to get.
But at the moment, these protocols...
It's been negotiated.
Okay.
This is what we call the phase 2 of the Afcfta negotiations.
Which of them have been negotiated already?
The phase 1 negotiations have been completed.
I went to Nigeria, I went to Sierra Leone. I wasn't treated fairly like they do with the Nigerian nationals when it comes to rapping or acting. I still have to wait small. That's the case.
The Ghanaian rappers are going all over anyway. The Ghanaian film stars are going. We are having the interaction already. That's why I say the Afcfta is only rationalizing what is. Rappers are already going across. Depending on the agreement that they use, it will determine whether they are operating under Afcfta or they chose to operate under another regime. So if they sign their agreement and the agreement now refers to Afcfta as the basis for that understanding, then if there was an issue, they can come back to Afcfta for a redress. Which means the two parties have agreed that yes, even though yesterday you were here and we had a film, today this film is going to be done under these conditions. And so if those conditions are breached, then we can settle it. But if you go under any other cover, it does not necessarily mean because you are in another country, you can run to Afcfta for redress.
So we heard from the man himself, Dr. Farid Atta. He's been leading some of the implementation processes here in Ghana. And as you heard, some of the protocols are already out there. That's why you should begin to familiarize yourself with them. Those of us on the single African market will endeavor to bring some of those information when we get them to you. Definitely, Dr. Farid and his team are pretty busy. The ministries are busy, but we would always try to get all the best of information and bring them to you. Industry players have been speaking. They have been speaking about the progress that have been made so far. They are also looking forward for the implementation processes proper so that they can take advantage of it. They have challenges, but of course, most importantly, they are excited about how far we have come so far. Industry players express satisfaction at what has been achieved politically.
The optics are great. Everything that must be done for the formative stages of any program of this sort has been done. And to cap it, the fact that we even have the headquarters here, I mean, gives us a plus. And for me, I'm excited about the good things that Afcfta seeks to deliver to the business community.
The whole concept is as good as anything that we can ever think of. But as to the implementation and as to how we can fast track some of the things like the rules of origin for people to know.
Louis Affol charged the Ghanaian private sector to take advantage of the presence of the Secretariat in Ghana.
As a host nation, we should take advantage of the Secretariat here, because if you go to the home countries of other African regional offices, the host nations take advantage of the offices. Whatever sector you find yourself, there, in terms of tourism, there will be a lot of conferences, regional conferences every week. Find out so that you can be able to attract, if you are running a hotel, how you can ensure that your hotel is being used. Food industry, they are coming into your country, they are not used to your delicacies. What do you have to do? Introduce them to it. These are not the work of the government. You have to have a quest.
The players hope that there won't be overemphasis on conferences as well as policy deliberations and ignore the core beneficiaries of the agreement, which includes the trader.
But I want to believe that we have not set the stage once again just for the conferencing entrepreneurs to be the one who will best benefit from all that there is to Afcfta, and then leave the folks who must be the pivot of all of this, the trader. The trader must be the prima donna of all these conversations.
We are overdwelling on the continental free trade, the policy framework, and talking about it. But the actual information that is being sought by the trading community is virtually nil. What we want to know is that what items are produced in Africa, at which cost, and at which duty rates that we are seeking. That's it. And so now we have to build new relationship and all that. How are we going to do this? I haven't even seen that a conscious effort is being made to bridge us up by way of doing a trade fair where all manufacturing companies that are permissible under the continental free trade are grouped for us to even go there. That would have been even the first step.
Documentation and the Afcfta, which is not fully ready, by this time it should be ready. This 6 months, the Africa Trade Observatory should be working. The Africa Trade Observatory is the common platform where all tariff concessions should be published. By this time, if I'm company A, I don't need to go to Ministry of Trade, I don't need to go to Afcfta Secretariat. I can just go to the WW Africa Trade Observatory and see what product I can go and export or import. This 6 months we have reached where central banks are preparing their local banks to accept the papers. This 6 months we are where by this time we're looking at how more departments and units under the Secretariat to be fully occupied.
But now we should have been singing praises. But now we should have been laughing to the bank. But now we are in limbo.
Still cannot just rest on our oars because of the great optics that has met the implementation of Afcfta.
The industry players are calling for strategy to attract the African trader to buy from the African market.
What strategies have we even done to bait people into buying from Africa, apart from the duties? So the whole thing is not just that we have brought something and it looks nice, but then we have to work into the actuals, the realities on the ground, and people like us is what they have to talk to at this time.
All these states have the commercial entities within. It will be useful for these groupings to be identified as soon as possible. If you are coming up with a program that will have them in the center, an effort must be put in place to build their capacity, not only language, but even the bureaucracy of trade.
We know that the continental free trade is supposed to ensure movement of goods, movement of services, movement of capital, for instance, and then free movement of even people. Yet those in the service sector are beginning to assume that the whole CFTA is just about goods moving out of the port and coming into the port. What is missing?
The real issue is this. We don't have innovation and strategy around our regional agreements. The agreement is known, they've heard it over and over, but they are not seeing the innovation strategy around it. That's why they are not participating. That's why they are not owning it. Here's the CFTA, CFTA is good, it's this, it's that. What is the innovation around? When you come to trading services, there are about 12 areas under trading services. You don't highlight it, including education, health, construction, aviation, tourism, technology. How are you going to create the innovation strategy for people to be interested in it? If you take something like creative art, what strategy are you putting around it? People will be passive. They will wait for you to bring it to them. Let them hear of the innovation strategy around this whole thing, and they will jump to it.
According to the representatives of the business community, the continent, and particularly Ghana, is excited about a free trade area, but implementation must be friendly to all and sundry.
Africa is ready for it in the mind, or let's say in the heart. But when it comes to, if it were a race and we said on your marks, get set, go, trust you me, a lot of the competitors will still be standing, watching which direction of the track to even run on. We need to do a lot more.
We are too ready for it. It could have been the best opportunity for it. The policy makers should find a way to make Afcfta attractive after the implementation.
One, the Secretariat is here, all the nitty-gritty, the bits, all the ends should join towards benefiting from what the Secretariat stands for. We are the Africa Wall Street now.
Yeah. Do you see that the private sector is embracing what you just said, Africa Wall Street, ready to make Accra the commercial capital of the continent?
I see it in the way that at one point we all stream towards one direction, doing a lot of webinars and seminars. But on the other side, when it comes to practically, private sector, most of them don't even know the category of private sector they belong to.
Now, the essence of all these continental free trade agreements is to allow us as Africans to move freely around the entire continent, trade freely among ourselves, import and export and all of that. So we on the single African market have been placing a lot of focus on folks who are doing big businesses, folks who are doing even small businesses and trying to scale it up to the continental market. They're innovating as well. We focused on a young innovator this week, and he's very unique because he started as a shoemaker. He now has a very huge shoe factory in Kumasi, and within the COVID period, he decided to put together, innovate something small and nice that can allow himself as well as his workers to wash their hands and stay safe within the COVID period. Now that thing blew the entire nation. The president of our republic acknowledged him, and today he's innovating and hoping to reach the continent's market.
My name is Barton Richard, and I want to storm the single African market. For me, entrepreneurship started in 2007, my final year in SHS, Tia Media Secondary School, Kumasi, when my dad has broken up with his partner. And he needed someone to fill in as a partner for him because he lives outside Ghana, Italy. And my dad is a leather wholesaler, leathers for furniture, bags, shoes, and belts. I also went to university at Christian Service University, studied marketing, so I can market the products very well. So during the university, I realized we always have huge stock of leathers. So I started researching on the net how to develop patterns for various leathers. So I developed patterns for the shoemakers so that they will know the exact shoes to use the leathers for. I became passionate about shoemaking and I started learning on the internet. So in 2015, after I graduated from the university in 2014 and finished my service, I ventured into shoemaking. That recruited about 10 people to start. So when I started in 2015, I met my brother Horseman Shoes, who used to come and buy leathers from my dad's shop. We became friends and we've been sharing ideas. And lucky for him, President Mahama acknowledged him. So getting to 2015 down to 2016, you got a contract from the president to supply school sandals for his campaign. So he contacted me. Through that, the Minister of Trade, Honorable Spogava, saw the good work I did. And they followed up to my shop. He came to my shop in 2016. By then, I've started a program, adapt a dropout student and train them. So I was going to the street, picking people that have dropped out of school and selling on the street and train them in the shoemaking. So all this, they saw all that and they came to support. During the COVID period, I wanted to make a system for my factory, my shoe factory, so that my workers there will use and be safe. So I sketched the system and also thought of how to design it, and I contacted my two brothers, Adam, who is an electric welder, and Amankwa Wache, who also into electronics. We all sat down and we made the system. That went viral during the lockdown, and the president of the land also acknowledged. So after that, when the president acknowledged, people started calling to encourage me to start a factory and produce them. And we did set up a factory for that. And Standard Chartered also came in to purchase for their branches. They made 20 purchases for their branches. And MBSSI also came in with the support and we scaled it up. And today we are here with production of the solar wash, and we've graduated and improved upon it to even produce a better one called Rapid Check. And this new one, the Rapid Check, takes a temperature, body temperature, also give a hand sanitizing and can sanitize about 1,500 people when filled to the brim. It takes 20 liters of alcohol, so when filled, and it also takes electricity so that it can be used everywhere and very portable from the first one we used. We are looking at opportunities beyond the Ghana market. Since the video of the hand wash went viral, I had calls from various countries, Nigeria, but to go to the African market, we wanted to make sure what the product we are producing is of higher standard. So now we are ready to go all out to the African market.
Came to our attention when he posted like an amateur video of his invention. He called it solar wash. And it came at a point that we were really busily looking, I was scouting for youth with very innovative business ideas. And that was the exact time that this gentleman also posted his video. So naturally, we all were looking out for him, where his location was. And luckily, it so happened that he was in Ashanti. And luckily, I was able to establish the contact. And his case was really given heads up when the president in his maiden address really made mention, because the invention had to do with something that would help us fight the coronavirus pandemic. And so it was something that we thought we really needed it.
Now, the reason we have been bringing you all these young innovators is that we're going to have some experts on this platform to let you know where these young innovators can take their dream next in order to be able to take advantage of the African market. And we continue to urge you, if you know any young innovator, you know any innovator, you know someone, you know a startup, you know a conglomerate you want us to highlight their exploits, we will be glad to share their stories with the rest of the world. In the meantime, on the platform, we'll be revealing them a lot to you so that you also get inspired that people are dreaming, and they're not just dreaming, they are acting on their dreams and hoping to take over the African market. So across Africa, there's always one event or the other that is happening to ensure that this vision of integrating Africa's market come to fruition. This week in Dakar, Senegal, there's going to be a roundtable on single currency and fintech to boost intra-Africa trade. There is also going to be Africa-Singapore Business Forum 2021 from 23rd to 24th of August 2021. Then here in Ghana, the AGI and VRA are to co-host Ghana's Industrial Summit and Exhibition for 2021.
Join Africa's largest trade and investment fair in South Africa. Intra-African Trade Fair gives you access to more than 1,100 exhibitors and 10,000 visitors and buyers, and more than 5,000 conference delegates, more than 55 countries. Participate in trade and investment deals worth $40 billion as business and government come together to explore business and networking opportunities at the international exhibition. Brought to you by the African Export-Import Bank and their premium partners. The IATF 2021, Transforming Africa.
Those are some of the major news and events that are coming up. We'll endeavor to share the stories with you as we move on. Well, if you have to move from the commercial capital of Africa, I'm talking about Accra, to anywhere on the continent of Africa, the flight schedules from Kotoka International Airport to African cities are coming up next on your screens, as well as the forex rate for the entire African market for this period, and then the weather report for African cities, as well as the Afcfta membership status for party states next. So we are going to be focusing on most of the protocols that already have been negotiated, as we heard from Dr. Farid Arthur, plus many more to prepare all of us. And as you heard the concerns of some of the industry players, it is important that information reaches you, particularly the information that the business community need in order to take advantage of this Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, plus many more. And in order for you also to know what to do now that we have this agreement. Thank you for watching the program, and I'm going to see you same time next week.
In the name of great Africa, is a fight and